Well, I'd just like to echo what Coach Beamer said with regards to the experience here in El Paso. It's been fantastic for our players and our staff and our families. The hospitality has been amazing. The events have been tremendous. The barbecue the first night, and then yesterday our players got a chance to go to Fort Bliss and spend some time with the troops. And then we had a great dinner last night and some fun entertainment. Tonight we've got another event scheduled. And I think our players are really enjoying it. And great challenge ahead for us. On the 31st, playing a tremendous Virginia Tech team. It's a team and a coach that I've looked to with a lot of respect for many, many years. I've had a chance to coach a lot of Virginia Tech players, and they're all the same: tough, disciplined, very smart football players. It goes back, we were talking about some of the guys. Jim Druckenmiller was another guy I was around. John Engelberger, Mike Vick, D'Angelo Hall, Jimmy Williams. And so I've in scouting those guys, have watched a lot of Virginia Tech football, and their teams always play hard. They always play physical. They play with great discipline and great passion. I think it's a reflection of, in my opinion, one of the greatest coaches of all time. So I'm really honored to be sharing the same podium with him here today. But it's been a good week so far, and we're really looking forward to the game on the 31st. Our kids are locked in, and we've had some good practices, and we've got to finish off the week in the right way. So.
Jim, from looking on the outside, the consistency that Frank has had in the program, how impressive is that from another coach's point of view?
Oh, it's extremely impressive, especially for me because I'm new to the college game, and I'd love to pick his brain and find out how you build what he's been able to build, because it's truly impressive, and there is a consistency every year, and it's a school that graduates their players, and you talked about, somebody asked the question about expectations, and they seem to meet those expectations year after year after year, and it's really impressive, and I think there's a lot that I can learn.
What do you see when you look at the secondary, and particularly those freshman corners that people have been asking about?
Skilled players. We're used to playing young players. We start 3 true freshmen on the offensive line. They start some young guys in the secondary, as you said, but as Coach Beamer said, when you recruit good football players, you need to get them on the field quickly because you're not going to have them forever. And we don't put in limitations on our young guys. We actually put some pretty high expectations on them, and I think they'll raise their game up to that level. And I think they've got really good football players back there. I think that a lot of what they're able to do in the secondary is a product of their pass rush. Somebody asked about that defensive front. I mean, those guys go after it. I mean, they play hard. They're reckless. They create problems for you.
So can you speak to Miles Jack and what he was able to do this year? Did he surpass maybe even your expectations for him? I know the running back position sort of happened because of injuries and so forth, but did he surprise you at all?
I'd be lying if I didn't say yes, but not as much as people might think. I've known Miles since he was about 11 or 12 years old, so I've seen him grow up. And he's an incredibly talented young man who works very, very hard and has a high football IQ. For us, it was just a matter of finding the right time to use him on both sides of the ball. I think sometimes you can overwhelm a young player if you ask them to do too much too soon. We wanted him to really learn the linebacker position and start to have some success there before we expanded his role onto offense. I think we were all fairly surprised when we put him in the Arizona game and he ran 6 times for 120 yards. I mean, that would surprise you no matter who it was. But then again, you've got to be careful, how much you ask them to do, because you can put too much of a burden on them and then they're not good at anything. So, but he's a tremendously talented young man.
What's the matchup with their defense? How do you go about attacking?
Well, they got one of the top defenses in the country, and it's a great challenge for us. And number one, we've got to block up that front. And with our young offensive line, that's no easy task. We've got to try to find ways to run the football. We've got to find ways to protect our quarterback and get open against an excellent secondary. So I think it always comes back to doing what you do best. You prepare for your opponent, prepare for their schemes, but then you've got to go out there on game day and you've got to execute to your standards. So that's what we'll try to do.
Son is on the staff there. I'm just curious, as a guy who worked for his father,
Mm-hmm.
what are the pros and cons of that, and how was that experience for you?
Well, I've actually known Shane for longer than I've known Coach, so we talked last night. For me, it was a great experience. I loved working with my dad. I thought it was unique. It wasn't easy. You know, my dad can be a little bit of a hard ass at times, as we all know, and he didn't treat me any differently. Well, maybe he did treat me differently than the other coaches, but it was a rewarding experience for me, just to be able to share those moments, whether they were good or bad, to be there for him when things weren't going as well as maybe we'd expected, to be there with him when we were sharing some of the successes that we shared. I wouldn't have traded it for anything. I loved every minute of it.
Jim, Jake Brendel acted, we asked him about his season this year, and he said he was kind of disappointed with how it had turned out, the snap issues and stuff. How do you evaluate his season, and what has he kind of meant today going out to the park?
I think he's meant a lot more than he'd ever lead on. Yeah, he had snap issues early. He's gotten those corrected. We haven't had any problems with that in a long time. You know, Jake does so many things that nobody ever notices. You know, things in the meeting room, leadership things, the way he practices, the way he leads by example. If he's disappointed in his performance, it can only be because early in the season he wasn't snapping the ball as consistently as we'd like. But Jake is, you know, he's a redshirt sophomore. He was voted a captain. You know, that doesn't happen. Your teammates don't vote you a captain unless you have some sort of positive influence on them and on that locker room, and Jake certainly does.
Coach, they have a quarterback who's kind of built like a linebacker. How do you prepare for that? Do you do anything different?
Well, he can throw it, he can run it, he's big, he's physical, as you said. No, I mean, you just, you've got defenses about being disciplined, playing hard, tackling well, and I don't really care who you play, you've got to do those things. You know, but with this guy, as mobile as he is and as big as he is, it's important that we're good with our eyes. We don't cheat in our zones. We take care of our responsibilities and try to hem him up. But it's certainly going to be a great challenge. Okay. Thank you, everybody.